Yo, what's up, everyone? How's it going? Good to see everybody here. Let me throw on my headphones here. What a crazy world we're living in. All right, I got some information to go over today. Paul said it was his my 50th birthday. Nice, Paul. Happy birthday, man. Hope you had a good one, dude. 50, that's a big number. I turned 40 and we didn't really do much for my 40th birthday and kind of regretted that, kind of friends, family, that whole thing. But anyways, we're going to be obviously talk about tariffs, economy, crypto markets. I feel like we're right in this middle of this. We don't know if we want to go up. We don't know if we want to go down. We're in this like consolidation period. So we're going to talk about that. Let me just let some people know that we have started the chat here. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to share this in Cryptonaires, letting those people know that we are starting. Since it is a Wednesday, I usually stream on Tuesdays, but I just did not have the energy yesterday. All right, cool. We let everybody know. Let's get into it. So I'll probably go through the news information and I'll take some of your questions towards the ends here. If you get any value, if you like the chat, please, if you're on Twitter, share it. If you're on YouTube, hit like. Thank you guys so much. All right, let us start here. All right. Oh, you know what? Do I really want to start with Bitcoin? You know what? I want to start here. This is where I want to start. All right. So Jerome Powell gave an interview earlier today, and it was at the Economic Club of Chicago. And there were some pretty newsworthy clips from this event. So I have a few of them I want to play, and let's talk about them. So let's start with this one first. This is a very general question, but how will tariffs impact the economy and inflation? Let me play this.
The level of tariff increases announced so far is significantly larger than anticipated, and the same is likely to be true of the economic effects, which will include higher inflation and slower growth. Both survey and market-based measures of near-term inflation expectations have moved up significantly, with survey participants pointing to tariffs. Survey measures of longer-term inflation expectations, for the most part, appear to remain well anchored as well. Market-based break-evens continue to run close to 2%. So, as we gain a better understanding of the policy changes, we'll have a better sense of the implications for the economy and hence for monetary policy. Tariffs are highly likely to generate at least a temporary rise in inflation. The inflationary effects could also be more persistent. Avoiding that outcome will depend on the size of the effects, on how long it takes for them to pass through fully to prices, and ultimately on keeping longer-term inflation expectations well anchored.
Basically, how big are the tariffs going to be? For how long will they impact the markets? These will play, these different factors will play a role in how long it takes for inflation to go up and come back down from all of this. He did have another clip. Let me see here, right here. He talks about Jerome Powell's asked about crypto and the economy, and he actually says some very favorable things towards stable coins and crypto at large. Let me play this for you.
So we went through a wave of failures and fraud and things like that were the headlines for a couple of years. And I think what you see now is, and during that period, by the way, we worked with Congress to try to get a legal framework for stable coins, which would have been a nice place to start. We were not successful. I think that the climate is changing and you're moving into sort of more mainstreaming of that whole sector. So Congress is again looking at both the Senate and the House are looking at a legal framework for stable coins. Depending on what's in it, that's a good idea. We need that. There isn't one now. And stable coins are a digital product that could actually have fairly wide appeal and should contain consumer protections of the typical sorts and transparency. And that's what the Senate and the House are working on. So that's a positive thing. I also think some of the, we took a pretty conservative, and other bank regulators took an even more conservative perspective on the guidance and rules we imposed on banks. I think there'll be some loosening of that, and I think we'll try to do it in a way that preserves safety and soundness, but that permits and fosters appropriate innovation. but that does so in a way that, again, doesn't put consumers at risk in ways they don't understand, or make banks less safe and sound.
All right. So interesting comments from Jerome Powell. You also have some crazy shit floating around. Anthony Popliano. So if you're not familiar, Bo Hines is supposed to be like, I guess, I don't know what his exact title is, but he's supposed to be, somebody that speaks for the Trump administration and works to move crypto forward in America. And he gave an answer about how to buy more Bitcoin that made me just, I was fuming when I heard this, because I'll play the clip and then I'll tell you why I was fuming, and I'll break it down, see if it makes sense for you. Let me play this first.
I've also seen Letnick and others talk about this idea of, well, maybe there's external revenue that we can drive and be able to use that. And so, like, how are you guys maybe from a framework standpoint thinking about, okay, what are the ways that we could go buy more Bitcoin?
Well, I think that Senator Lummis has really an interesting idea with the Bitcoin Act of 2025, which I know has taken the community by storm. But here, what you would do is you'd revalue the gold certificates that we currently have at Treasury. Most of which are valued, I think, around like $43 an ounce, which is,
a lot lower than what it's really worth.
Correct. Yeah. So now we're sitting at what, $3,100 an ounce, with being the price of gold. And if you took that value, what you could do is use that extra funding in order to buy more Bitcoin that could be used for the reserve. But that's just one idea. And, that's currently circulating its way through Capitol Hill, and we'll see how many co-sponsors she can get and how she can pull her colleagues on board. But we're looking at many creative ways, whether it be from, tariffs, whether it be from something else. I mean, there's literally countless ways in which you can do this. And, I'll defer to, some of our members inside of the interagency working group to see what ideas they come up with inside of their own shops. But we'll look at everything. Everything's on the table. And like we've said, we want as much as we can get. So we're going to make sure that no stone is unturned as we start fleshing out some of these processes.
Okay, so one of the ideas was, let's buy Bitcoin with tariff money. All right. So if like, this is what frustrates me, right? They've been there for 3 months. Okay. And like, one of the best ideas they can come up with is double taxing Americans, right? Because if we're paying income tax, okay, like, wait, I guess we have to resolve this, right? Because from what I've heard, tariffs are supposed to be there to get rid of income tax, right? Then tariffs were there as a negotiation tool. Now tariffs are, out of control. Nobody has any idea what's going on, right? And they think they're going to sell this to the American people like, hey, we're tariffing you already on all of these goods. You're paying thousands of dollars extra per year per person you have in your household. We're just going to use that to buy Bitcoin. Now, it's I don't know, man. I don't know, because if you're actually saying this as a real statement, you have some information that a lot of people don't have, that tariffs are going to be around a lot longer than they were promised that they would be, right? Because this was supposed to be, we're going to do this tariff thing so we can negotiate and get better, get better conditions. Now it's tariffs are going to be around here for a while. Let's just use it to buy Bitcoin. What's even more frustrating for me is, what happened to supporting American companies? What happened to supporting American innovation? Please remind me who or what American company is behind Bitcoin. Anybody? That's right. We don't know. So instead of supporting your XRP, your Solana, your ADAs, your Chainlinks, and a host of other stuff like Ondo and a bunch of other stuff, the top people in the Trump administration want to tax you extra so they can buy Bitcoin. I have to say, this is probably the stupidest idea I've heard this week, but it keeps coming. And maybe I'm just being, little bitchy about it, but I'm already trying to have to pre-plan buying like a new iPhone and all this other stuff, right? Because like, now the tariff on China is what, 245%. Oh, fuck my life. All right, here, check us out.
Armstrong last night ahead of this summit today, and he's one of the members who's been advising the Trump transition team since the campaign trail, and he made the point that he thinks a lot of countries are going to follow. I know of already Middle Eastern countries, Gulf states that have been looking into a Bitcoin buying strategy. There's also reportedly conversations within the Chinese government to look to follow suit if the government in the U.S. makes this move to roll out a purchase plan.
But there is no purchase plan.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, if you have a strategic Bitcoin reserve, China used to be one of the epicenters for Bitcoin mining. It's very easy for them. They have all of this hydropower, and so they already have all the facilities, and they banned it a couple of years ago, but it takes nothing to turn it back on. And then, I mean, similar to Iran evading sanctions by just mining Bitcoin, they already have it on hand.
So, America, China, I guess we're in this all-out, drag-out war. And things keep changing by the day, right? We don't know if tariffs are going to be, 300, 400, 500% tomorrow. It all depends on how Trump is feeling that day and who insults him. I feel like this is what has caused the tariff thing to just get so out of control, right? So here it is. U.S. imposes 245% tariffs. Here we go.
The U.S. raises 245% tariffs on China, and the crypto markets tumble. It's Wednesday, April 16th, 2025. I'm Christine Lee. This is CoinDesk Daily. China telling state-run China Daily they're open to talks with the United States based on equality, respect, and mutual benefit Wednesday, after U.S. President Donald Trump raised tariffs against China to 245%. This comes after China's retaliatory measures and bans on exports of key strategic materials, including rare earth elements, gallium, and germanium that are used in the production of high-speed computer chips. Bitcoin and the CoinS20 are declining, with Aave the sole gainer. Gold surging over 2% to break 3,300 as investors flee to safe haven investments. And chipmaker Nvidia warned of the $5.5 billion revenue hit, sending tech stocks lower and dragging the Nasdaq down. Meanwhile, Coinbase Institutional reports that the crypto market has entered a bear phase, with Bitcoin dropping below its 200-day moving average and the top 50 tokens trading in bear market territory since late February. The decline, signaling a potential crypto winter, is attributed to macroeconomic uncertainty and reduced venture capital funding, which is up to 60% below 2021-22 levels. Analysts predict the market may find a floor by mid to late second quarter of 2025, setting the stage for a potential rebound in the third quarter. Finally, some more scientific stuff.
All right, really quickly, this is telling you, right, that we probably will have some more sideways action, maybe even downtrends for the crypto market over the next few months until we get to like end of quarter two, maybe quarter three. Remember, summertime, usually people are traveling and it's not really super an exciting time to be trading crypto. And if you remember last summer, it was kind of, quiet until we got into kind of like September, October, November. And you remember the pump that we had back in 2024. So here's what you're looking at right now. Bitcoin's up 1.73% over the last 7 days. Ethereum continues to fall, down almost 5%. Tether, man, I'm waiting for the day to wake up, and Tether is just totally depegged from everything. I don't know, man. Something deep down in my soul just doesn't like Tether. XRP's up $1.70, 1.7% over the last 7 days. Solana's up 11%, actually the highest gainer here in the maybe top 10, top 15 tokens. Hedera down 6.5%, 15 cents. Man, it is crazy to think what's going on with the crypto market. This was all supposed to be good for everybody until it wasn't. All right, a few other things that we need to talk about and discuss here. Oh, I thought this was fun. Grocery store giant Spar is testing Bitcoin and Lightning payments in Switzerland. I love how they say Lightning payments like it's I guess compared to Swift, it is fast. And here, this is kind of what we have been looking at in the past when it comes to Bitcoin. The interesting thing is, let's go back to 2021, right? Okay, same market, right? Similar market, excuse me. This is supposed to be, like I was counting on us to have, a really good first quarter, right? Because I looked at 2021, 36, 29, 15% right here, right? And you just knew it was probably going to be a pretty good run. February minus 17%, March minus 2.3%, April we're up 1.98%, but that could change on a dime. Man, just kind of scary. And then if you take a look at the other, 2021 bull market, April, May, and June were all red months, right? And that is where we are, right? April, May, and June, the next quarter. So are we looking for more red, more red ahead? Listen, if tariffs continue to be used as a axe for negotiations, you are not going to have good markets when it comes to crypto, when it comes to stocks. It is just not going to happen. Companies have no idea what they're doing right now, and I can't blame them for not wanting to invest money into an economy that we don't even know. Like, the crazy part is, like, if you ask Trump about tariffs and then if you ask his administration, sometimes you get two different answers. So nobody is on the same page. So it is really difficult for me to see good things ahead when we just have so much negative stuff going on right now. All right. Let's see here. Hold on. 2021. So here, July, August, green months. September usually is a red month. It's my birthday month, which sucks. And then, man, crazy stuff. It's hard because COVID was during this time too. If you look in 2020, this was a really good time here. 2024, good time. Anyways, let's keep going. Senator Loomis is talking about signaling a shift in U.S. regulatory mess. Let me play this.
United States was a regulatory mess and a landmine for companies that were trying to establish and understand and comply with clear rules of the road. That has all changed. You're seeing SEC commissioners that are trying to wind down some of these enforcement actions in ways that resolve them, so the bleeding of legal fees by both the SEC and the people that they are bringing enforcement actions against can come to a conclusion. You're seeing the Congress finally willing to move legislation. The bill that we moved out of the Senate Banking Committee recently on stablecoins, that's the first bill to come out of the Senate Banking Committee in 8 years. 8 years. This place was locked up. It was frozen. It was calcified. It was so rusty it couldn't function. And now that's changing.
The crazy part about all of this is you actually have like such a good climate for crypto as far as regulations go, right? You're having, the US make stablecoins a priority, right? Digital assets a priority. CFTC, the OCC, the Federal Reserve, the FDIC, all of this bullish for crypto. Yet the market keeps losing billions and billions and billions of dollars as people exit because they're unsure of what's going to happen. Just kind of crazy. But I mean, on the other hand, right, you have a lot of this negative stuff around tariffs. And then you do have people that are, thinking Bitcoin's about to take off, right? Bitcoin Golden Cross just hit. The last time this signal flashed, plus 139, plus 2,200, and plus 1,190%.
Every time.
Oh shit, I didn't even want to play that. Hold on. Let me just show you this. Here you go. So here's Golden Cross, 139. Golden Cross, 2,200%. Golden Cross, almost 1,200%. And it just crossed again. So, man, it's crazy to see what is about to happen. We just don't know what we don't know at this point. But stay tuned. If you see Bitcoin starting to creep above 90, 95, that might be a signal to jump in, but just be very, very careful. Things can change on a dime out here. The NASDAQ extends losses on another day, minus 3% following the Fed Chair Powell's comments. He's making comments about, that tariffs are going to be inflationary, right? If you listen, it doesn't matter what country you're from, because of C19, you experience some type of inflation. So you understand what's at stake here, right? We just spent 4 years getting inflation to a place that the Fed felt comfortable enough to start lowering interest rates. And at the same time that is happening, one person is making a decision to basically is tank the right word? Tank the wrong word? I don't know. but that's what we're dealing with here, which is, it's just crazy stuff, man. Powell says tariffs may have bigger and more present inflationary impact. That's what we're talking about. And I'll come to your comments here, guys. I know probably some of you are pissed off, and some of you are excited for the future. So, you know, it's hit or miss here. Money goes where liquidity flows, and right now it is canballing into SUI, right? We have talked about SUI quite a bit on this channel, guys. If you're not familiar with what SUI is, let me just show you this. Man, we were talking about SUI last year, right? When this was about 70, 80 cents. Let me just show you this. We talked a lot about SUI kind of back in this area here. If you guys remember, we had a high here of about 5.29. Right now we're sitting at $2. Now, if you ask me, you know, Sensei, you know, if somebody really close to me, like a friend, family member came up to me and said, hey, you know, I know XRP is something that you love and you want to, you know, I should definitely have some XRP. What else should I be looking at? I would tell them to go buy SUI over, I would tell them to go buy Solana, right? I just think SUI, you know, is a 3-digit token waiting to happen. I don't know if it'll happen this cycle. Probably not. I mean, you'd be talking about a 50x. You'd be talking about a, you know, $300 billion market cap for SUI, but it's not insane. I think over the next 5 years, you will definitely see that, in my personal opinion, unless something catastrophic happens to the network. I really do like SUI in the long run. So just giving you that context, that information. Here you go. China says it's aware that certain goods are facing a 245% tariff on the U.S., and they will ignore the numbers game. China repeats that it will fight until the end. Crazy stuff, man. And, you know, you know, I was talking with somebody inside of Cryptonaires about this. Okay. Now, the problem here is when you are trying to, you know, change an entire system, a global interconnected economy of trade that has been around for decades. If you're trying to change that in a day, right, or in a week or in a month, most countries are not going to respond really well to that because they're not going to know what to do, right? You know, companies or countries, if you're a company, do you start building factories in the US, or do you wait for all of this to pass, right? Because even if you make those same goods in the United States, they're still going to be 2, 3, 4 times more expensive because labor in the United States is that much more expensive. That is always the hard part. And China is being very strategic about, you know, what countries they're going to talk about, you know, what meetings that they are having, and what open trade negotiations they're having. And the US is kind of just, nobody knows really what's going on. So China is being very much more strategic about it, where the US is just kind of going at it willy-nilly. And that's, I think, a problem. So on Liberation Day, President Trump imposed a 10% tariff on all countries, individualized reciprocal higher tariffs on nations with which the U.S. has a largest trade deficit in order to level the playing field and protect America's national security. More than 75 countries have already reached out to discuss new trade deals. As a result, these individualized higher tariffs are currently paused amid these discussions, except for China. China now faces a 245% tariff. And, you know, I think they're working to exclude some of the stuff, but we'll have to see how all this pans out. Not exactly fantastic. Volatility in U.S. Treasuries has been truly historic. Historic being the word here you should be paying attention about. The 10-year note yield surged over 50 basis points in 1 week, marking the largest weekly increase since 2001. Yikes. Over the last 40 years, there have been just a few other occurrences where the 10-year note saw such a significant rise. The 30-year Treasury yield has experienced daily swings of up to 32 basis points, the largest since 2020. So in the bond market, which basically is one of the most important markets, right? Stock market's great. It's good there for speculating on businesses and things like that. But the bond market is really where we get, you know, the whole rates for home loans, auto loans, credit cards, anything that has, you know, if you're borrowing to pay it back, this affects everything. And so as this goes higher, it becomes more expensive. for you to refinance your home, for you to pay, things that are not fixed. Shit. I'm trying to figure out how I can best explain this to you. The higher this rate goes, the further Trump is away from the goal. Because I've also heard people say the reason Trump's doing all of this tariff stuff is so the Fed will finally lower rates, right? And that way, American can refinance its debt. But technically, this is having the opposite effect of what that exact comment of what Trump was trying to do. All right. Gold, we've talked about this. I don't really need to get into this too much, but gold has been surging as people fly to safety. U.S. officials are planning to use negotiations with 70 nations to disallow China. So now one of the U.S.'s demands is that if you're a country and you're doing business with the U.S. and China, you have to pick one. I don't know how that's going to go over, but that's one of the newer things that I've been seeing over the last few days. New interesting strategy. I guess if you could call it a strategy, I don't know. But here is what this looks like now. $1.5 trillion wiped out again today in the stock market. Obviously, the crypto market, it's very difficult to get the exact numbers on how much money's been wiped out, but I'd imagine it's in the billions. And then here you go, after rising 2,500 points since April 7th low, the NASDAQ is now down nearly 900 points since Monday's high. Today, Fed Chair Jerome Powell made it clear that the Fed put is not saving the market anytime soon. So, I don't know. I think you have the Fed playing chicken with Trump. Trump and the Fed are playing chicken with each other. And the people who are losing are obviously countries that are doing business with us and the American people. So kind of crazy to see how all this is going to turn out. I don't know. At the end of the day, I know this is a lot of bad news to take in, guys, but regardless of what happens here, markets should improve and go back up. It's just going to, is this going to be a weeks long, months long, quarters long, or years long, situation? That is yet to be seen. Okay. All right. Keep going here. This is kind of crazy. 80% of all dollars was created in the last 5 years. Oh, fuck. 80% of all currency, right? That is insane. All right. And then you also have Sol Sniper founder Maz S001 announces never before seen Telegram tracker and wallet tracker for Solana meme coin degens. I thought this was kind of cool.
What I wanted to show you guys, so like one of the most popular things that people have requested from us that we don't have yet is the wallet tracker, right? So we actually built that, right? But then there's a new tracker that we built that no one else has either, and it's called this Telegram tracker. And so kind of similar to like what I was showing you guys with the Telegram calls, is in the Telegram tracker, you can actually see who called and in what group chat when they called it. So it's like a wallet tracker, but specifically for all the Telegram calls that you're in. So like if Mark makes a call in decap right now, I would see it in my Telegram tracker.
Damn, that's badass.
That's a pretty cool new tracker. I know people are going to be using that. Check this out. I thought this was crazy. US M2 money supply is at an all-time high. China's M2 money supply is at an all-time high. Japan's M2 money supply is at an all-time high. The EU M2 money supply is at an all-time high. My question is this: how much longer, how much more stress can the system take? Right? Is this the goal here, just to get as much as we can out of the old system before we have to move to the new one? Are people somewhere, looking at this data together and saying, "Oh shit, this could be bad," right? This is money printing at its finest. Look at China. Holy shit. Can you imagine having some money in the bank in China right here? Bam. I think it doubled, right? Look, 187.5 trillion, 326, almost doubled in the last maybe like 5-6 years. And then here's Japan, obviously, Europe, and then here's America. And this is going to, right? This is going to keep going as we continue to print more money. And then here, Radium Pool has launched Launch Lab, a direct rival for pump fund. Man, there are so many of these pump funds like versions of each other. I think the market is so focused and going the wrong way here. I don't know, man. I just wonder what the market would have been like if we didn't have, tens of billions of dollars lost to scams with meme coins. I just wonder where we could be with some of these more utility tokens. All right. I thought this was a good clip. Jake Claver. I guess Jake is on a 60-second riff. He puts out new shorts every day, which I like. So here you go. How can companies move trillions of dollars on the XRP level with 100 billion XRP? Let's play it.
If there are 100 billion XRP available, then how can companies move trillions of dollars using XRP? Are they purchasing XRP to move the money? So again, this is volume. Right now, to move through XRP, you need ODL, you need Uphold, because Uphold does a fiat to digital currency transfer for XRP, sends it to the counterparty, and then they swap it back into fiat and then send that to the counterparty's bank. That's how they're moving. They're going to move trillions. They're really not moving trillions right now. And the other way that they do it is they lend the XRP out, but it's really just like a liquidity. So they lend the XRP, Uphold exchanges that for fiat. They lend it to the bank. The bank uses that money however they're going to use it for 7 days. They send it back to Uphold with the interest. They swap it back for XRP, and then they send it back to Ripple. At least that was the way it was explained to me in the conversation a couple hours after Simon inked that deal with Ripple. They're not moving trillions through the XRPO yet. But as price appreciates on XRP, there'll be enough liquidity in XRP to be able to facilitate those transactions. And different counterparties are holding XRP. Will start utilizing it to be able to settle those payments.
I actually talked to Jake too. Somebody had mentioned last time I streamed about Jake saying that he thinks it's possible for XRP to get to 4 digits in 2025. Jake actually confirmed saying that. So I'd love to have him on to better understand why he thinks that's going to happen this year with only 7 months left. But anyways, I thought this was really interesting. This is Stuart Alderati. Now that Stuart is not fighting the SEC, he's got time to do stuff like this. So I guess there was a one of the most comprehensive crypto study that the U.S. has done to date, and there's a lot of really unique information here. Let me show you this real quickly.
The NCAA's initial survey sheds light on how Americans are thinking about crypto today. Why was it important to conduct this kind of research, and did anything surprise you in the findings?
A lot surprised me in the findings. So the NCAA partnered with the Harris Poll to conduct the largest ever study of crypto holders in America. And what we heard is that crypto is going mainstream. 1 in 5 Americans, 55 million American US adults own or use crypto. And crypto doesn't have a type. Holders come from all walks of life, ages, genders, income levels, professions. More people over the age of 55 own crypto than people under the age of 25. Crypto isn't just for the bros, the crypto bros. Nearly a third of crypto holders are women. And this is interesting, at least I found that it was interesting. Nearly as many crypto holders work in construction as do in the technology sector. And when it comes to income, crypto isn't just for the rich. Many crypto holders are not in high income brackets. 26% of crypto owning households earn less than $75,000 a year. That's just
some interesting data, right? He's saying that there's just as many people in the construction industry than the tech industry that are in crypto, as well as there's a lot of people in crypto that make less than $75,000 or their household makes less than $75,000 per year. And actually, this made sense to me, right? If you are somebody that works your heart out and that has, a certain job or qualities or qualifications that can only make so much money in a year, of course, you're going to look at putting money, investing into, crypto, right? Because you see Bitcoin up like 7 million% since its launch. And, I think the people that are in crypto early enough understand how important that certain aspects of the crypto industry are going to bring in the next billion people when it comes to stable coins or tokenization, DeFi and CeFi coming together. I mean, there's so many really unique use cases. And I think people that don't have tens of millions of dollars that are trying to get to that place one day understand that, a lot of these billionaires and these, people with hundreds of millions of dollars got where they are today by investing in technology. And I think that's what I'm trying to do here too, is invest in something early enough that it turns into something, over the next few years. And, I wouldn't change it for anything in the world right now. I think that people that who are not paying attention to the crypto market right now are going to be those people who are going to bitch for the rest of your life when you're going to go to like a Christmas party or whatever, and they see your new car and your new house and this and that. They're going to be like, oh, why didn't I listen to you when you were telling me to, look at this 10 years ago or 5 years ago? And you're going to be like, hey, shame on you, right? Let me finish this.
4 very quick metrics or data points. And when you dig into the report, there is more to learn, all of which I think some is surprising, some is not surprising, some is really just confirming what we thought. But now we have a definitive survey, the largest ever of its kind in the US, that folks can now point to and rely on.
All right. Let me go to some of your questions here, guys. I know I've been rambling up here. It's 1,000 people just hanging out and chilling here. Let me just go all the way down. I'm sorry if I missed some of your questions, guys. If you can re-ask them, I'm here now and I am looking at the chat. I can do an answer for you. If you watch CNN, you'll get a different story. I don't know anybody that watches CNN, man. I don't know anybody. I get a lot of my data from YouTube channels, actually. I think I'm on YouTube. I don't watch cable TV anymore. But like, I don't really watch Fox though. Like, I don't know if you're sued continuously for lying to, your viewers, I can't really consider you an actual news source. So I try to stay away from Fox as much as I can because of that. But everybody has their preferred way of getting news and information. All right. What's up, old school? Good to see you, man. Knowledge Seeker. Great to see you, man. What's going on? John says, I think most people now trust YouTube over mainstream media. I think that's absolutely right. I think, they're all trying to pit us against each other, and no matter what we do, that'll continue for the next, decades and decades and decades until the system either breaks or we get a new system. So, best to get some information from multiple sources, and just don't believe every single thing that you hear. Try to verify it on different news places or sources online or whatever it is that you trust. When is the next pump? Fuck, who knows? Who knows, man? If Trump woke up tomorrow and got rid of the tariffs, like instead of the pause, it says, hey, we've negotiated the deals, we're going to stop all tariffs. The crazy part is, like, up to 1974, presidents didn't have the power to do anything with tariffs, right? And I can't remember exactly what happened, but you actually have people in the Senate right now working to take that power away from the president, because they weren't supposed to have it to begin with. And they've only had it for a few decades out of, a few hundred years that America's been a country. So they're going to see if they can take it away from them, which might be better. Can I talk about the private and public ledgers? I feel like institutional money won't ever hit the public ledger. I think you're getting these mixed up. Okay. Okay. So what does public and private mean to you, right? Public, the transactions are, anybody's able to see those transactions. Okay. Private, nobody can see those transactions, right? Only the bank doing those transactions will see those transactions. But a private ledger still runs on the XRP ledger. Doesn't matter. Those they're interconnected. So if there's $1 trillion in value that goes onto a private ledger, that's still going to be on the XRP ledger. Listen to the X22 report. X22 report. I'll have to check that out. X22 report. I will take a look at that. I appreciate you suggesting that. I will do that. What else we got? So I have talked about this in a video. It's 3,200 blocks missing, not 32,000, I believe. Anyways, tariffs to fix the economy is like using a bomb to unclog the drain. I think some people don't understand like what's happening with tariffs. And I think they hear bits and pieces and, you know, like this has solely been brought on by one person, right? And it can solely go away from that one person. But like the crazy part is it already out of the box? Is like, can you put this thing back in the box now that all of these countries really kind of understand, you know, that there's no trust there with trade? I don't know. It's going to be hard to do, man. It's going to be hard to do. Yeah. All good, Unit. I'm glad you got that clarification. Yep. Let's see here. What is this person saying? Benjamin. And we have never been more wealthy as a country, and now we are running solely on tariffs. You do understand that you pay the tariff eventually, right? Like the person importing the good has to pay the tariff, and then those costs are given to us, right? The people buying those goods. You're familiar with that, right? Because I know there's still a lot of people who are confused about who pays the tariff. You know, let's put it this way. Some of these tariffs are like 25%. When you're like, oh, 25%, that's not too bad. But when you get to like $10,000, a 25% tariff is another $2,500. If you're talking about a car that's like 50 grand, you have a 25% tariff, you're talking about another $12,500 on that car. Most of these cars are just going to rot on lots. They're not going to be sold, because most people don't have a ton of money to put down. And a lot of these, especially American car companies, they give rebates and different things so people can get financing and things like that. But when the car is $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 over MSRP, you're done. So a lot of this stuff is not going to wind up well. If you buy American, you don't pay the tariff. Actually, that's pretty ignorant. That's not true at all. Do you know that a lot of the stuff that's put together in the US, the parts come from overseas? Silly? See, like most people don't understand what they're talking about. Ryan, that's you, bud. You don't know what you're talking about. So also, I just want to help me better understand this, okay? Since you seem to be an expert, all right? If remind me about this. How long does it take to set up manufacturing in a country, any country? Like the US, how long would it take to shift all the stuff that's produced in, like, let's say China, Southeast Asia, these type of places in the United States? Would we even want to do that? Right? Who's going to work those jobs? Are you going to sign up to go down there and work in that factory to make, $1 widget or $2 widgets? We have grown as an economy, and there's a lot of jobs that Americans don't want to do, right? That's why you need to hire labor to, work in different industries like the, pork and chicken and all these different industries where people are in factories all day long. Most Americans don't want to do those jobs, right? You're talking about building homes and things like that. All of those tools, all of those things that go into building an American home come from Canada and Mexico and other places. So like to say that if you buy American, you don't pay the tariff, go ask the farmers. Go ask the American farmers who are going bankrupt about tariffs. All right. I think there's still some education to be done. Don't mean to be rude, but I feel like we've done this for now a few months, right? We've gone back and forth, at least 4 or 5 weeks now. There was a threat, and then there was tariffs on April 1st or 2nd. I think we should really get a good understanding of what tariffs do and do not do for the economy. Sensei, am I tired of winning yet? I think we could all be a little bit further along if Trump often talks about McKinley. Like you've heard him talk about the McKinley tariffs and all this stuff. What Trump seems to not like, I don't understand how the man doesn't have Google, right? You can Google McKinley tariffs and you can find out what happened to the economy after those tariffs were introduced back in I think it was at 1900s or something like that, or 1890s or something right around there. And the economy actually went into a depression, because of those tariffs. And I think this is a very slippery slope that people just they're not paying attention to. All right. Yeah. What's not? I mean, Harley Davidson, right? I don't know too many more like American things than Harley Davidson, but a lot of that stuff is India. That's what I'm saying. The whole globe is interconnected with supply chains. The supply chains that are set up in certain countries like China, you can't just decide one day to reroute world supply chains. It doesn't happen that way. Okay. And if you're building something that's maybe a little bit more complex and it requires parts from all around the world, those supply chains are set up to go to that one place, right? Which currently is China. A lot of the stuff is built in China. And you can't just decide one day that it's going to be done in America. It just doesn't work like that. And I think that's what people are still missing. But anyways, let's get back to just a little bit of other news then. I think that half the people in the audience agree that tariffs might not be the best decision right now. And the other half thinks tariffs are a way to bring America back to power. I don't know. We'll have to see how it plays out. I'm skeptic. You're not. That's great. Let's keep it going. All right. I thought this was a good clip. Brad Kimes talking about ETFs. XRP ETFs, the perfect storm of a price surge is brewing. Let me play this.
One, the ETFs are going to be massive because you're talking about these are liquid. Think of these as giant vacuum cleaners that are just laid right over into the pool to suck up all the liquidity of the XRP. Every time someone buys a position in the ETF, XRP goes into a qualified custodian. It's not available anymore. Now we have a tune of 18 of those, and it is rumored that BlackRock will be soon to announce their ETF. There are 11 trillion assets under management. So I'll let you do the math on that. So, you know, this demand is going to create an upward pressure on the price. Now let's go to the other side of it. We get legislation passed for everything we need by August, let's say, for the sake of this conversation. Market infrastructure bill, taxes, stable coins, it's all done. Nothing left to talk about. The only thing left to do is implement it into your business model. That means every market maker making a market, using it for payments every day, needs it every single day. But they're watching everyone over here that sells ETFs, selling ETFs, taking off like gangbusters. So while they're using it every day, they're realizing, shit, the price of this thing's going up every day, and I need to use it every day forever, right? So now you have these two clashing with one another, creating a demand for the asset. ETFs are constantly buying it up off of the market. The guy who needs to use it every day says, I better buy as much as I need today for the next however long, because today it costs less than it will tomorrow and the next day and the next day.
Interesting to hear though, like, you know, as more money is put into ETFs, that the XRP, you know, because the ETFs represent a share of so many XRP units, that XRP is actually going to be locked up, and it sounds like taken out of circulating supply. So I think this is actually a really unique aspect. If we can get billions of XRP and that is taken out of circulating supply, that will help increase the price of XRP. There's also some talk about Charles Hoskinson doing some type of partnership with you know, Cardano and XRP. We'll have to see how that goes. There's also this new document here. Looks like the parties joint motion to hold the appeal in abeyance. I don't know, man. Has been granted the SEC. So this is, since both sides are now agreeing to move forward here, this should be done hopefully in the next 60 days. I've seen. I know it feels like it's gone on forever, but we are getting to the end of this. All right. You know, maybe it's a good thing, right? Because, you know, you kind of want this market to, you know, to be going up when you get all of this really good news finally behind you. And so maybe this, you know, waiting an extra few months will help. But it does feel like you're going to see an XRP below $2 before you know it here, especially if the market continues to go down or sideways or down. I mean, a lot of people, you know, a lot of people are saying since the ISO 20022 formats are going into effect on July 14th, 2025, that this is going to send XRP to a whole new level. Just, you know, don't fall in love with dates. Don't ever fall in love with dates in crypto. I thought this was kind of sad. BitBoy is facing between 5 and 15 years in prison. Man, this guy just had such a crazy like 5 years. You know, when I came in the crypto industry, I mean, I didn't love how BitBoy was kind of, you know, ripping some people off with some stuff, but hey, I get it. Crypto, you never know what's going to happen. A lot of scams, a lot of people, you know, whatever. And a lot of money was being thrown at him. Now he's looking at serious prison time in a federal prison. Crazy stuff, man. The lowest ever sentence it's Georgia too. That's not going to be helpful. On Ben Armstrong is charged with a 2. So the lowest ever sentence for what Ben is charged with is minimum 2 years. Ooh, yikes. Circle mints another $250 million on Solana. You also have Panama City Council approves plan to accept crypto payments. Residents can now pay taxes, fines, permits, and fees using Bitcoin ETH. I think this is something America should do. Obviously, with states, you have different laws and rules state to state. And then, of course, you have the federal laws and rules. But it would be cool to see, you know, a portion of some of these fees, maybe to pay. States could, you know, put aside 5 or 10% of, you know, registration or any of these yearly fees that are put onto vehicles. And they could use that to maybe buy certain crypto assets for that state. I think that would be a really unique and cool idea. I haven't heard too many people talking about that, though. You also have Bitwise has listed 4 of its Germany-issued crypto ETPs on London Stock Exchange, expanding institutional access to Bitcoin, Ethereum, at low cost. We understand that really there isn't a ton of interest in Ethereum right now, but I do think you're still going to see a $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 Ethereum before this market is all said and done. I didn't have too much going on today. I had my stitches out earlier today and I just was not feeling good, but I'm going to answer some more of your questions and then I can take a look at some stuff. Have we changed topics in the chat, or are we still talking about what's it called? What's up, Duel? Good to see you, man. Zero emotional management. He imploded, probably has some mental issues. I wonder who we're talking about. Are we talking about BitBoy? Yeah, man, it's hard to see, man. It's hard to see. BitBoy has had it pretty rough last year, man. He's had it rough last few years, man. Sad to say. I mean, like the business partner kind of, you know, taking his business and his car. Oof. I mean, what would you do if you lost your Lamborghini? I don't know. I've seen, you know, it didn't help that he was, you know, I heard, and so I don't know if this is fact, so please understand that. I don't know if this is true, but I heard he was, you know, taking some enhancements, enhancing things when he's trying to get, you know, for fighting, whatever. And must be tough, man, to just change careers like midlife crisis. It must be very difficult. Let's see here. Could Swift create their own tech like XRP short term? Hey, that's a great question. Great question. Thank you for asking that. Yes, they can. Simple answer. Anybody can create tech. You know, the real issue is not creating the tech, but everything else that's involved in it, right? So if you're creating your own blockchain, right? So because if you're Swift and you don't want to use XRP, right? Then you're gonna create your own blockchain, right? Because if you're looking at the top 10 or top 20, right, you have like Hedera. I think Swift and Hedera have been doing some testing, but realistically, there's a lot of risk involved with Swift creating their own system, right? And then you have to connect that system to all of the on and off ramps in the crypto industry, right? And that could be exchanges and infrastructure and all of these different key pieces that go into that, all right? And since it's not easy to put up a crypto project in a day or a month or even a year sometimes, I don't see if Swift was going to make that move, we probably would have seen them making that move already. But this kind of goes back to why, you know, a few of my videos, we've talked about why banks would choose creating a stable coin with Ripple over doing it themselves. And I think this goes into risk, right? How much risk is involved. And, you know, you have to audit it. You have to have a team on full to support it and upgrade it. They could do it, but I think, you know, I don't think they will. Could happen though. Great question. Thank you for asking it. Still tariffs in chat. I poked the bear with that. I shouldn't do that. I know, but it's just like people are wondering why the crypto market is going the wrong way. Like magic. I don't know. We see a direct correlation when like crazy shit with tariffs are announced, the market goes the other way. It's like I cannot talk about the market without talking about tariffs. I wish I could. Trust me, I wish I could. And it's not an easy topic, right? Because, you know, half the people are pissed about it and half the people think it's like the next revolution. I don't know. I just think like there's a lot of other countries that are putting a lot of thought into their policies, and I doesn't feel like we are doing the same thing. All right. That's all I'll say. All right. What are the questions? Cocaine is a hell of a drug. That is true, Bill. That is true. Can I leave my XRP on an exchange or should I change it to cold storage? So Shabby, that's a great question. So it's a rule of thumb in the crypto industry that not your keys, not your crypto. So, you know, not your, you know, seed phrase and private keys, not your crypto. So if something happened to that exchange, right, whatever it is, if it gets shut down by the government or if it gets hacked or something should happen, you could, you know, fall victim and lose your crypto. Okay. So unless you're planning on trading that crypto, like right then and there, or the next day or something very in close proximity, always makes sense to put it in a more secure place. Because I think a lot of people like use some of these exchanges that don't need KYC and don't need all of this stuff. And I think we've seen in the past that even some of the biggest exchanges in the world can fall victim to fraud and abuse and these types of things. So, you know, you got to do whatever, like what your situation is best. I can tell you that there are a few places that I don't mind leaving crypto on, like Coinbase is one of those places. Like I sleep just fine. Coinbase is the custodian for, you know, like 8 out of 10 of the biggest Bitcoin, you know, ETF providers. And I think if Coinbase was a bank, they would be like the 21st largest bank in America. So, you know, I think they're pretty trustworthy. Obviously, if something did happen with a hack or something with them, that would be bad. But I hope that helps. What do you think about Ondo? Hey, Jordan, good question, man. Ondo, great. I think there's a lot of value there. You know, anytime you can work with BlackRock on something, especially like tokenized funds and these types of things, you know, I think it's a no-brainer. Absolutely. Ondo would have to be probably in the top 10 of things that, you know, if like a friend came up to me and asked me like, what should I be looking at in the crypto market? You know, obviously there's like XRP, HBAR, XTC, these types of things, you know, and Ondo is probably a great choice for that. Yeah, I am spicy today. I had my stitches out earlier, and I've been into some pain today, so I do apologize. I never mean to piss people off. I know that some of the stuff that I talk about can be spicy, you know, and I get that. And sometimes, you know, I bring it on myself, and that's fine. You know, just don't, you know, be frustrated with Ariana or any of the people trying to keep the chat civil. I always wonder, Tensei, do you sell your whole bag when you think it's time to sell at the end of the bull run? So Red Panda, this is a great question. So there's a few different ways to look at this. Okay. It depends how you think. All right. So some people, buying and selling crypto is complicated and it's confusing, and they just want to be able to buy and hold just as they would like a stock, right? Most people that are investing in the stock market understand that this is something I'm investing in for my retirement. This is, you know, 10 years, 20 years down the line. That's the average investor, right? There are some people that day trade and do all these things, but the average person wants to buy and hold and eventually, when they get to a place of maybe some benefits with taxes and things like that, a certain age or retirement, then they will sell that and then they will live off that money. Okay. So if buying and selling is easy to you and you understand the tax implications of buying or selling that particular crypto at that given time of how long you've owned it, if it's easy for you to do, and you think the market is going to start going the other way, like the bear market is coming, and you want to position yourself out or into stables, yes, selling XRP at the top and trying to buy it back would probably be the best strategy. But there's going to be people that are going to say that, hey, I just want to buy and hold, and I want to keep adding. If it goes lower, I'll just keep adding. Eventually, this will be worth something. Like, there's that mindset, right? And so I would only sell XRP to try to rebuy it back, in a few weeks time, or, usually here, let's take a look. Let me show you this. Okay. So if you take a look at, let's just say AVAX. Okay. Let's look at AVAX in 2021. All right. So top 13 crypto, here is the chart. Okay. So, if you take a look here, this is 7/31/2021. This is as we were getting into August. August is usually a hot month, right? This went up, and we actually, by 11/20. So this is like, about 3 months. About 3 months, we hit it top, right? And then look at this, we hit a double top, right? And so when we see this double top here, we know that the market is probably going back the other way, and which it did. Okay, so obviously the goal is to sell up here, right? Get into stable coins or cash or whatever, wait, and then obviously rebuy back down here. Right. And I hear a lot of people saying, Sensei, the 4-year cycle is done. It's a super cycle. And we have okay, I get that's your opinion, but every time that I've looked at this that way, it's always gone the other way. There's always going to be bull and bear cycles. And, if you look at just any of these cryptos that have been around, like look at HBAR, I can't show you XRP because it didn't have a run, right? It just didn't do shit. But here you go. So similar, right? Look here. This is early 2021, had a peak, and look, the same time, right? Early August, right here is where AVAX started to take off. Here is the top, right? It got there more quickly. Check this out. So here is the start of this 7/21. Okay. Within less than 2 months, right? You're already at the top. So it'll happen pretty quickly. It'll happen faster than most people think. I think most people think that it just keeps going up and up and up and up and up for a year or a year and a half, and then the bear market comes. No, it'll peak out really quickly. I mean, look at this. It just went straight up, right? This is where you want to be looking at getting out. And obviously, once you see another run, and if it doesn't actually break all-time highs, this is another time, like any one of these days, you could have gotten out and still made some pretty decent profit. So, oh, fuck, I didn't even show you. I apologize. So here, what I was showing you is this. So here's AVAX chart. I'm sorry. I thought I was sharing my screen. I wasn't sharing on the thing. So here's the AVAX chart. Here it is right here, 731, excuse me. Goes up, right? And here is the top. Here's another top, double top, and then the price tanks. Price goes back down. So the goal here would be to sell in this area somewhere and then buy back down here. Okay. You look at HBAR's charts, something very similar. Sorry, I didn't share that. All right, here we go. All same thing here. Right? So HBAR actually had a nice run early in 2021, right? This is the first 3 or 4 months of the year. And then you had a cooling off period in the summer. This is the summer, if anyone who's not familiar with this. And then you had this top here, 9/14/2021, day after my birthday, okay, is where HBAR hit its all-time high, 45 cents. So if you could sell anywhere in this area, 45 cents, 40 cents, 39 cents, and if you bought in here, down here at 2 cents, you made a nice 25x. And so selling at the top and then buying back down here, that is going to be a lot of people's goals when it comes to getting in and out. That was a long-winded answer, but I hope that helped. I try to explain the tariff stuff, man. You know, I know it's not everyone's favorite subject. It's not my favorite subject. I would love it if I didn't have to spend like hours of my day every day watching news on tariffs and reading news on tariffs and reading the history and like what happened in this time of period after tariffs were lifted, you know, what happened to the economy after. Like I'm trying to pre-plan all this stuff in my head, and it's not fun, man. I'd love to just move on to, hey, the crypto market is all-time high. It's all-time high. It's all-time high. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. You know, money, money, money. That's what I would love to just talk about. I use Coinbase. What about Uphold? I've heard a lot of good things about Uphold. I've never personally used Uphold, so I cannot speak. I cannot speak to how things are. Right? I definitely know about Coinbase, and I like Coinbase. Coinbase is a brokerage, though. Let's get that clear. It's not an exchange. It's a brokerage. And if you don't know the difference between the two, very simple. An exchange is where you're trading against somebody else. Okay? You are selling it for 20 cents. Somebody else is buying it for 20 cents. You have a trade. A brokerage is they have all of these, you know, pools, and Coinbase will make a little bit extra selling it, you know, what the market is. But that's the Coinbase is a brokerage. All right. I see you guys talking about wallets. What up, bro? From Dwayne. What's up, Dwayne? Good to see you, bud. You know, you always remind me of my friend Dwight. His name's Dwight Smith. And I know the guy for like 20 years. And every time you come in, I for a second, my mind thinks it's him. And good to see you, brother. We like Trump. You don't, so we get it. Fair. Fair. I didn't love what happened with, you know, Congress when everything was trashed. The economy is trashed. I mean, there's a lot of things that I just don't think the person should be qualified to run a country. That's just my personal opinion. The great thing about building a channel is that I can have those opinions, and I'll sleep fine tonight. You know, I cannot change who I am to better fit your needs. I can only be me, right? And you might agree with me on a lot of things and disagree with me on this. It's fine. But I think like what you don't realize in the background, right, is that half of my family is, you know, and I'm sure a lot of families are like this, right? But half of my family is, you know, more Democratic, and half of my family is more, you know, Republican. And those two sides often fight about things. And I'm often caught in the middle. And of course, I have an opinion about everything. But as soon as I start sharing the opinion, then it can get real serious. So, you know, I have put away some of the frustrations I have to keep an open mind here. But I mean, it's not going very well. All right. Let's see here. I have to go to a school conferences. Dang. Make sure that you're telling them XRP is the answer, okay? Poor BitBoy. I know Kathleen. Kathleen's just catching up. What's up, Kathleen? Great to see you. Swift and Ripple. Let's see here. Swift and Ripple. Is that a done deal? Or is it too early to confirm? Two things here. You're going to see XRP, Solana. I don't know. You're going to see a lot of these cryptos moving across the Swift system. Okay. Remember, Swift is a connection of 11,500 banks. Okay. Those banks can choose to use XRP or whatever they want. All right. There's multiple inlets and places that, you know, you can use Swift, you can use Ripple, you can, you know, you're going to see stable coins moving across the system. You're going to see a lot of this stuff. Okay. People are speculating that because we're making this transition into instant settlement, that Swift will be forced to pick, right? Are they going to pick HBAR or XRP and Ripple? Or are they going to pick a little bit of everything? I think it's still too early to say. But there's a large part of the XRP community that thinks Swift is going to use XRP, and there's a lot of people in the HBAR community that think the same thing. So it's very difficult to say exact. What's up? How's it going? Learning a bunch from you. I hope it's good things. I hope it's good things that you're learning. I'm not sharing my screen right now. I'm not sharing my screen. I'm just talking to you. Oh, this is probably when I wasn't sharing my screen. I'm sorry. Coinbase screwed me over. Man, sorry to hear that. I'm sorry to hear that. Do you want to tell me what happened? Paul, what'd you do for your birthday, man? Email said it was stuck at customs, and definitely when they find it can be shipped, they'll send me an email. I don't know what you're talking about. Would they just buy Swift? You can't buy Swift. Can't buy Swift. Can't buy Swift. No, I can't imagine how, because Swift is just an interconnected 11,500 banks in a network, right? And they're all using this network. I don't even know what that would look like, right? Do you need to get an approval from 70 or 80% of those banks to do that? I don't know. That's an interesting thought, though. Very interesting. I thought he was stoned. He couldn't speak. Sometimes I need to think about what I'm going to say before I say it, because I often could get in trouble by letting my mouth move and not my brain work first. So I tend to, even if it takes me some time, I need to sit here and just think about it. What do you think XRP could hit $1,000? I think this is a very fair question. I know there's people that believe that'll happen this year. I don't think I'm that bullish on, listen, in order to why haven't banks started to use it yet? I'm asking you this question. Okay. Why haven't banks started to use it yet? Right. We know that for 4 years under the Biden administration, banks couldn't touch crypto. If you did, we were coming to sue you, right? We were coming to debank you. We were coming to close down your company, right? That was the mindset from the Biden administration. And now that banks are able to use crypto, I don't know if there's a period where banks feel comfortable about starting to use it, but we do know it's coming, right? But you're getting OCC, FDIC, Federal Reserve, Board of Governors, Federal Reserve. I mean, you're getting a lot of these, institutions that help set policy for the industry saying that it's okay to use crypto now. But I just don't think that they've taken that step yet. Is it going to take crypto regulation for that step to take hold? Maybe, right? Is it going to take, you need stablecoin regulation. We might not even have that until August. If it's not voted on before August, it'll be end of the year, maybe 2026. I just don't think, I don't think the cards are aligned correctly right now for us to get there this year. And then then we're supposed to be getting into a bear market in 26, but I keep seeing people talking about the market continuing to be good in 26. Listen, if money is cheaper, right, where people have access to money and it's cheaper to borrow, that could and would improve market conditions. Because believe it or not, if people can go and borrow money at 1% and 2%, and if they can get 5, 8, or 10%, in some kind of DeFi app, they can borrow enough, as much money as they want because they're making more than enough to cover all that stuff. Right now, money is very expensive to borrow. That's why a lot of people are not refinancing their home or buying new homes or buying cars or any of this stuff, right? I'll give you an example of this, right? Where's my phone? Hold on. Okay. Oh my God. See, there's the ADHD. I forgot. Okay, here we go. My lease was up on my Mercedes in December, and I've had I have had a sports car since I was 19, 20. So like 2 decades I've had a sports car. And I was looking at getting another Mercedes, and the same car that I had bought in 21 was like $500 or $600 more per month. So instead of like $1,000 payment that I was paying, it was like $1,500 or $1,600 per month. And it was just like, I only use the car maybe like 2 or 3 times a week. If that, I'm usually home. And for the first time, I just didn't get a car. Right. And so like, my wife has an SUV that we use, electronic, Mercedes that we use. But instead of having like 2 payments and all this stuff, we just have one. And like, it was just too expensive. I wanted to do it, but I held off on doing it because it was just too costly. And I think a lot of people are running into that same issue with everything that they're doing right now. If you're trying to buy a new car, trying to buy a new house, you're trying to go to, back to school, get student loans, all of this stuff is very expensive right now because of the interest rate. And so until that stuff is flushed through the system, a lot of people won't make those additional moves, right? And so there's a lot of money, a lot of things that have to be refinanced and all of this stuff. And so as long as money is expensive, none of that stuff will happen. If money becomes cheaper tomorrow and the money printer is turned on full bore, and you have an injection of capital back into the system, I mean, shit, you can have governments buying stocks again. Remember that? Remember COVID? They were buying stocks. People were going crazy with extra money that they were getting from the government for COVID. Doing that similar will have a greater impact on the market than what's happening right now. But will that happen? I think that's what we're waiting to figure out. That was a really long-winded answer. I do apologize. Robinhood is my investment platform. Nice, man. Love that. I think we are waiting on regulations. Darren, we are waiting. So there's a Stable Act in the Senate. Genius Act in the Senate. There's the Stable Act in the House. Both are stablecoin legislation. You can't have 2 bills go into the president's desk about the same thing, because those bills will contain different things. And then, it's just not going to happen that way. So the House and the Senate need to come together and decide which bill is actually going to move forward in both both the Senate and the House, and then make its way to the president's desk. Once you get stablecoin regulation, you will probably get digital asset regulation. That should come right after. But there's nothing concrete just yet. As soon as it starts to move, I will let you know, man. Do I follow other channels? I won't get in trouble. Yeah, like YouTube channels or Twitter channels. Which one are you asking me about? I don't watch too many YouTubers. I think they're, in the XRP space, I feel that there's a lot of like accounts with a few 100,000 people that do a lot of borrowing content from each other. And I kind of roll to my own, beat drum or whatever. And I don't want to watch somebody else's content and then be like, oh, I'm going to redo this with just like a different twist. Like I want to make my own stuff that I don't want to be in a position where I'm just copying somebody else's. So I don't watch a lot of other YouTube creators for that reason in the XRP space. But when it comes to like putting a video together, I can show you, like, if you want to take a look at like how I put a video together, it's, depending on what the idea for the video is, like some nights I will have trouble sleeping and I will just be writing things into my phone. And then I'll wake up the next day and I'll take a look at my phone and then I will start to search. And usually, if I'm just doing basic news for XRP, I'll look at XRP, I'll run through it. I'll take a look and see what the newest information and news is. Chances are I've looked at this maybe like 5, 6, 7, 8 times a day. So I'm very familiar with new information that's being put out. I also like, XRP drops is pretty cool. Mikkel puts out some pretty good information. There's a few different channels I like. I like Smoke Dog on Twitter. Jack the Rippler's okay. This is a scam. This is a scam. I can't believe they're allowing this. I reported this yesterday. Someone else is being impersonated. Brad Garlinghouse. There you go. Next. Done. Anyways, never give XRP to anybody. You're never going to get it back. But yeah, no, I'll just start pulling information that I think fits the narrative that I want to be talking about, and I'll just start building. But it's funny because like when I'm looking at XRP news, I see me, like putting out a lot of content. So it's hard for me to not search XRP on Twitter, not run into, my videos being posted and things like that by my team. Like, some of it here, like here is XRP news. This is all me. Look. Oh shit. See, like, look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So, it depends what you search. But yeah, just start putting it together. And then obviously being in the space for, 5 years and doing this every day, I'm very opinionated and I like facts and information, and I put stuff together like that. I think if you're looking for somebody really good to follow, Crypto Eerie. I really like Crypto Eerie. Brad Kimes, Digital Perspectives. I think those two people put out very factual, good information in the XRP space. Do you think there is actually a top for XRP? You mean like, is like 50,000 or $1 million, or like, is that what you're asking? Like, is there a price where it just won't go past it? I think there's a lot of people that believe XRP is pre-programmed for 7 digits, I don't know. Like you need to watch my multiplier effect videos. I think that kind of, a lot of people don't think XRP is ever going to get to $10,000 because of, you would need, I think, $580 trillion in market cap to get to 10,000 per token right now. And people misunderstand what that actually means. It doesn't mean that $580 trillion needs to go into XRP. It just means that we need to get to $580 trillion as a market cap. And those are two different things. Okay. If you're used to looking at regular evaluations and things like that, usually for $1 in is $1 in market cap, but not in crypto. Crypto is very, very low liquidity. And sometimes shifts in inflows of a few $1 million can have billions of dollars in effect on the market cap. So if you watch some of my content about this, actually here, let me show you this. Like if you want to watch content today that I'm talking about this, let me show you. Let me see here. Where is the video? I think it's this video right here. No. This is not that video. Excuse me. It might be one of these. I can't remember. Let me see. Hold on. No, it's not that. I linked to the market manipulation video or market multiplier videos. Oh man, sorry. I've been putting out a lot of content and it's difficult. Sometimes all of this shit blends in together. Here, another way to find this is videos popular. This here. Okay, this is the first one. This is the market multiplier video. Watch this video. Watch that video. And here, I have a second video actually here. Let me pull this up. So this is the first one. So it has how many? It has popular 94,000. Okay, so hold on. Home videos 94,000 is what I'm looking for. 94. Hold on. I'm trying to find an exact video for you. 1 second. 94. Okay, so it's right around here. Right around here. Hold on. This is it. Yep. To the XRP community. I think this is definitely it. Hold on. Let me fast forward through this one. Maybe not. This is it. Yeah. Hold on, I'm trying to find the second multiplier effect video. I don't know if that is it. I don't think that's it. Anyways, there's another video like a few days later after that video that has like 50,000 subscribers, 50,000 views, but it goes into the multiplier effect. You really need to understand the multiplier effect, and you'll kind of get what I'm talking about. Where's my phone? Oh, look, squirrel. Turtles. Do I need to do dishes? Chris, what are you doing? Is that the ADHD brain? Because I feel like that is my life sometimes. What do you think of Omni Network? I've heard a lot of good things about Omni. I'm not too familiar with it though. Omni. Let me pull this up. Omni. 29 million. Let's see here. Cruising downwards here though. Man, we just had a oh my god, this is launched at $25. Rough situation. 76,000 holders. I mean, it's on, Binance, Coinbase, Upbit. It's on pretty much everywhere. Let's see here. Website. Build together. This is what you're talking about, right? Kathleen, excuse me. Zach's video was brilliant. Which video? On the multiplier effect? So staking XRP, obviously staking is going to, so what you're trying to do, right, is if you want the price of XRP to go up today and you don't have new money going into XRP, the only thing that you can do is reduce the circulating supply. Okay. So there are multiple ways that you can do that, but one of the easiest ways to reduce circulating supply is staking. And so since mainnet staking is coming and staking with Flare and F assets is coming, there's going to be multiple ways for you to stake, and that will reduce circulating supply. You can also reduce circulating supply by, by locking up XRP and other, let's say there's some type of like DeFi app that requires you to lock up so much liquidity, maybe like $10,000 or $5,000 or whatever worth of XRP. If you lock that up for, let's say, 6 months or a year, that will reduce circulating supply as well. Thoughts on Alchemy Pay? I don't have any thoughts on it. Zach did a recent video on multipliers. Did he do it after I made mine? Oh, did he do it before? Zach Rector. Let's see. Let me look. Hold on. Whales accumulating 600x multiplier. Is this in? It's probably this. Yeah, I mean, it's no secret. It's no secret. It's good that more people are talking about it. Andrew says, do you think any companies like will merge, like XLM, XRP, ADA, or Ondo? So those are blockchains. XLM, XRP, ADA, and Ondo are blockchains, and so they won't merge together. But if you're asking if like Stellar or Ripple or, if the companies behind the infrastructure will merge, I doubt it. I doubt it. Ripple is not involved with Stellar in any shape or form, right? Like Ripple's not going to say, hey, go use Stellar for this. They're going to say, hey, we got solutions for you with XRP. So I don't see them merging together. I do think it'd be interesting to see like Fireblocks or R3, somebody like that coming in, or somebody buying one of those companies, because their infrastructure plays more or less. I always thought it'd be really spicy if Ripple tried to buy R3 or something like that. But, it would be wasting maybe $1 billion or $2 billion on something that might not get you customers and might not get you where you want to go. So, the Ripple acquisition of Hidden Road was really interesting. I thought that was really cool. Rector damn near killed her. What are we talking about, John? What did I miss? Oh, Zach did a recent video. I think I just showed that. Yeah. I mean, I think that speaks to, a larger part of the community starting to learn about these things, right? Like I did 2 videos on it, and I did a third video like last week or like 5-6 days ago talking about the multiplier effect. I mean, it's not crazy. It's real. Like you can do all the research yourself. You don't have to listen to somebody like me or Zach. All you need to do is find inflows. Like here, let me show you. If you want to do this yourself at home, very simple. You want to look for XRP 24 hour inflows. Okay, once you have the data, usually it's by Chad Steingraber puts this out. Like here it is. 15 minutes, $55 million in net inflows, right? But you need the market cap also too. So let's see here. Let me see XRP. Let me just take away XRP inflows to market cap. You just got to search something a certain way to get the results that you're looking for. I mean, yeah, look here. Here's somebody taking what Zach and what's his name are saying and then doing it themselves. Ali G. But yeah, you can take all this and just do this yourself and take a look at it. Here's the information you need right here. So in 15 minutes, price driving up from 220 to over 226, 6 cents change, 3.64 million net inflows, market cap increase of 3.43 billion. Using that information, you can find out what the multiplier effect is in this situation. It varies. I've seen it as low as like 50, and I've seen it as high as like a few thousand. So it varies. Yeah, I mean, you need a good company, Oracle company, right? Chainlink, you could add to that list. Chainlink is a vital piece of the crypto market. Without Chainlink, a lot of this stuff wouldn't work because you need price data and information across multiple chains. And as things change, it needs to be updated. And Chainlink does a really good job about that. Are we seriously asking this question? I don't know, man. I didn't know we're still talking about tariffs like an hour later. You must have just started watching the program or something, and you're just commenting on it. Let's see here. Red Panda says a lot of talks. The U.S. government buying Bitcoin. Yeah, I think this is a mistake when XRP can double in price. I know, dude. Like, this is what happens when you have the blind leading the blind. It's you have Bitcoin maxis pushing policy and agenda for digital assets in America, and it's just the wrong thing to do. Like it turned from supporting American companies and American blockchains and infrastructure to now just buying Bitcoin. So like there really is no plan. There is no plan. They still haven't figured out how to do this without involving Congress. The easiest thing to do is just to go to Congress and say, hey, we want to start spending tax dollars on this. We're saving, I don't know, how much money has Elon Musk saved now? Who knows? I mean, the data's not really that public. Hard to say. But there's ways they can do it, but I don't know. We'll have to see. Do you think XRP Gov could use XRP to stabilize? I think there's a lot of things that could be done if you have people in a box thinking about it. Like right now, the administration is too focused on how do we buy more Bitcoin. Like that is what problem that they are trying to solve. It's not how do we create policy that allows us to invest to American blockchain infrastructure. That's what the problem they are trying to solve should be. That's the problem but what they're trying to solve is, how do we get to 1 million Bitcoin? That's what they're trying to solve. They're not trying to solve XRP or ADA or any other American crypto company, because you have like Senator Loomis, and you have David Sachs, Bitcoin Maxi, and a lot of the people that are working on this type of stuff are Bitcoin Maxis, and that's very difficult. That's who's the decision makers right now. So we don't know what they're going to do. What's up, other Nomad? Good to see you, man. So I did the math on all this, right? Like I did the math on all this. So right now the US is at $37 trillion in debt, give or take. Let's take a look. US debt clock. 36,733 and rising every day. Okay. Problem here is, in 10 years, this number is supposed to balloon to like 50 trillion or 55 trillion. How much money is being spent right now? And there's so many different things that play into this though, right? Because it's supposed to be like, are tariffs a way to stop Americans from paying income taxes, or are tariffs a negotiation tool? It's really difficult to figure out where that lands. But if you're trying to pay off US debt with Bitcoin today, the US has 198,000 Bitcoin. If the US wanted to turn around and sell its Bitcoin today and pay off all this debt, $37 trillion, Bitcoin would need to be at $180 million a token. Something in that range. 180, maybe a little less, but really close to that. If the US had 1 million Bitcoin, if they were holding 1 million Bitcoin, which means buying 800,000 and 802,000 Bitcoin, the US would need to sell each Bitcoin for 36 million per token. That is a overall market cap for Bitcoin of, I think it's like $770 trillion or something like that. It's just like, if you do the math, it's not possible. So nobody is taking this into consideration. I think mainly this is promises made. Let's try to keep promises about buying Bitcoin, is because that's what the American people want. Realistically, there's only a few hundred or a few thousand people, especially in the United States, that own enough Bitcoin for this to really make a difference, right? And those people are already millionaires or billionaires themselves. So this is just another way of kind of helping out a very, very like 0.00001% of the population. When instead, like if you went out and instead of putting this money, like if you wanted to buy 800,000 Bitcoin today, I think it'd cost you about $60 to $70 billion. Instead of putting that money into Bitcoin, if you could invest $60 or $70 billion into American cryptocurrencies like XRP, ADA, Solana, that would increase. There's 55 million people in America that own crypto, but how many of those people own, more than one Bitcoin? I bet you the number is a lot smaller than you think it is. So, I just don't think any thought is being put into any of this at all. Kathleen with the big 499. Thank you, Kathleen. I appreciate you, love. Thank you so much for being here. And hey, you've been supporting the channel for, I don't know, for years now. I really appreciate you, Kathleen. Thank you so much. I hope that was a good explanation of kind of the thought process and how I see all that stuff. Like, you could, so I also thought about this a different way. Okay. So, let's say, so the US, here, let's go to Perplexity. Let's have a little fun with this. Okay. I'm glad somebody brought this up, because I think this is something worth talking about. All right. So, all right. How much would it cost the USA today to buy 802,000? All right. Let's get a number. We need a number to work with first. And you guys understand why I'm saying 802,000, right? Because the goal is to buy or have 1 million Bitcoin, right? The US has 198,000 Bitcoin, which leaves 802,000 Bitcoin that still needs to be purchased. And that would cost a staggering $67.6 billion USA. Okay. Now let's say the United States, instead of spending almost $70 billion on Bitcoin, let's say they spent, 10 or $15 billion on XRP, right? So let's say the US has, all right, so if XRP is $2 and the US spent 10 billion, if they spent 10 billion, they would have 5 billion XRP. If the USA has 5 billion XRP tokens and the price per XRP token is 5K or 10K, how much money would the USA have? Check this out. Boop. Sorry, it takes a little bit of time here. Okay, so here you go. Okay, so if the US spent $10 billion on XRP, they would be saving $57 billion. The US could save $57 billion. Okay. And if they had 5 billion XRP and XRP's price was 5,000 or 10,000, they would have 25 trillion or they'd have $50 trillion. Okay. So I want you to take the second example here because this is what I'm talking about. So let's say the US had $50 trillion. Wow. We were able to pay off $37 trillion worth of debt, and we had how much left over? $13 trillion. If we have a balance of $13 trillion, well, hold on. First, we need to find out how many adults and children are there in the USA. Let's get a hard number. Taking this, let's see here, 267 million adults, 74 million children. So just taking the adults here, right? Let's just use the adults here. Actually, we'll use everybody. We'll use everybody. So what is the grand total? Is it going to give me a grand total? What's the total? I don't want to do freaking math, and I just wanted to give it to me. Now that we understand how many people are in the USA, it didn't give me the total. Fuck. Hold on. 267 plus 74. 341 million. If you so there are 341 million people in the USA. If the USA had $13 trillion, and split it between 341 million people, how much would each person get? Let's see. $38,000. So not only could you pay off the US's total debt, which I think is the goal here, right? If we listen to all of the crazy shit that's going on, the goal is to pay off the debt. But you could also pay off the debt and give everyone $40,000. And if you took away the kids, right, and just gave the adults the money, you'd be giving every adult like 50 grand or more, right, in the United States, right? How would your household like an additional 50 grand? I'm sure everybody's household would, right? So, and you could even say the people that have over, $10 million in wealth don't qualify, right? Or the people that make under 100 grand a year qualify. And this number could be even more, right? But it's not unheard of. It's not crazy to think that XRP could reach, 10,000 per token. It's less crazy to think that than think Bitcoin is going to $36 million per token, right? All right, there you go. That's my sell on why the US, and like the US could, right? If the US made this position, right, they could actually buy the XRP from Ripple at a very discounted rate, right? Not retail rate, but very much discounted. And then the US could say, hey, in order to get XRP from $2 to 10,000, we need to add debt, or we need to add value to the chain. Or you could do like real estate, right? You could add 20, 30, 50 trillion dollars in actual value to the XRP ledger. And voila, you're at 10,000 per token. Maybe even higher. So I don't know, man. I think there's ways that you could really start to think about this. And I think there are a lot of things that are just being overlooked. So anyways, the rich needs to donate to get us out of debt. Well, the problem with this is if you look at, here, I don't want to guess here. Let me give you the exact information. Tax breaks in upcoming bill, USA bill. Let me see. I think there are like some serious tax breaks that are being considered, right? The upcoming USA bill includes tax breaks on which it could add another $5.5 trillion in debt over the next decade. And $4.6 trillion not included interest. The bill aims to prevent a tax increase for most American families by extending the individual estate tax cuts passed in 2017 under Trump's first term, and these would expire set to expire at the end of 2025. So, it's very difficult to see what's going to happen. I know that there are some continued tax breaks for the extremely wealthy that are being looked at right now, that could add another $5.5 trillion in debt on the United States, on everyday Americans coming up. So hard to say what's going to happen with this. But yeah, the rich have more than enough money right now, and it seems like they are only getting more power. RNAS, I'm top 2%. That's nice, man. Congrats. Damn, Darren's coming up with some math here. Buying at $2 and selling at $10, they would make, is that 337, thousand, million, billion, trillion. What kind of math are you doing here, Darren? Are you saying, okay, so what Darren is saying is if they took the $70 billion and instead of buying Bitcoin, they bought XRP with that. And then if XRP went up, no, it still doesn't make sense on the number. 1,000, million, billion, trillion. I think you got too many zeros there, partner. I don't know. FYI, I'm an exhausted holder. Chris, I think a lot of us are kind of exhausted at this point, but like, I'm going to keep waking up every day and I'm going to keep reporting on the news and information that I find. And, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that one day I wake up and things are different, right? Not like my life is very much different. I'm still going to be the same person, still going to care about a lot of the same things. I just might have, a bigger garage, right? And might travel more, we'll see. Wouldn't the price tank after they sold? That's a great comment, Andrew. I'm surprised more people didn't catch up on that. So there's a few things you could do here. You could, man, this is kind of in the realms of kind of crazy, like to even start kind of, compounding and trying to think about all this stuff, but you would need to be able to sell it OTC. Or there could be a way to, see, it's difficult to, difficult to figure out, because I mean, this is like David Schwartz level of thinking on all of this stuff. And like, I am not an expert in all of these mathematics and economics and tokenomics, but, you would either need to have an OTC over the counter buyer, or I'm wondering if you could start, you could issue the debt, like you could issue the $36 trillion on the XRP ledger. Like that's what the US could do first. And then over, a 5-year period, do chunks at a time, maybe they're paying off 100 billion at a time. I don't know. There's a lot of things that would need to, to think about, but that's, I'm glad you brought that up. What up, dude? Let's get rich. I like your thinking, man. I love your thinking. 50 mil is nothing. Ben says 50 mil ain't nothing. Nothing. I like you, Bill. Thank you, man. Ben, Bill, Ben, fuck. If Ripple pay in crypto XRP, it would tie up that amount of XRP. So Ripple is paying. I think I did hear them say that like that was one of their ideas to pay the $50 million in XRP, but that's only 25 million XRP. If XRP went to 10,000 per token, they'd only have about $250 billion. Wouldn't do very much as far as making a dent in the debt. Yeah, it's 37. No, it'd be at 10. So it depends how many tokens they had, Colby. But the example that we were just talking about is if the US spent $10 billion on XRP and they bought it at today's price, which is $2, they'd have 5 billion XRP. At 10,000 per token, they'd have $50 trillion. All right. Let's see here. Anthony says there aren't enough rich people, truly rich people in America to bail this country out of all the debt that this government has settled the taxpayers with. You're probably right, Anthony, but it probably doesn't help that even the people that make the most money are not really paying their fair share, right? Like, I don't know, you can only spend so much money in a lifetime. Okay. And like, if you're making $1 billion a year, why am I paying more, of a rate in tax when I clearly don't make even close to that? I don't know. I just think there could be, you could argue this any which way you wanted to, man. At the end of the day, the middle class keeps leaning more left to like the poor side than it is to the rich side. And so sooner or later that's going to break. And whenever that does fully break, what that looks like, riots, looting, people saying they're not getting their fair share, who knows? Let's see here. Anthony says, but with the current administration, there's a new sheriff in town and he's a business person and he's trying to get the ship in order in ways that no career politicians could ever think of. I appreciate that comment, Anthony, but I want, do you think Trump is a good business person, or do you think there may be some other people out there that have more understanding of business than he does, right? Because like, I remember like Trump University, Trump Steaks. I mean, how many, like, I don't like, how do you buy a casino and go bankrupt owning a casino? Like, isn't that like the whole thing of owning a casino? So you can just, you make all of this money. I don't know. I think there's been a lot of examples where, one could argue that Trump has had a problem running regular businesses, everyday businesses. And so running in a whole economy could be looked at as something very challenging for him. I think you can get both sides of that. All right. I'm not going to keep reading your like paragraph long things because I happen to disagree with you. I don't think Trump is a good negotiator. I don't think he's a good business person. And I think we're seeing the effects of that, right? Like if you are a good business person, you don't need to go out in front of everyone and say how good of a business person you are and demand that like, hey, if you don't do something, then, we're just going to stop trade in between our countries. Like, I think you're not thinking about, the small businesses and the farmers and all of these people that are caught in the middle that are going to go bankrupt, right? And just so somebody can prove a point, I just don't think that is the most intelligent way that you can to like a good business person. You don't even realize you're in a negotiation until that deal is done. And then, that's how you know that you were just handled by somebody that really truly understands all sides. Threats and all this other stuff, I don't think is a good motivator out in the world, but could be wrong. Could be wrong, man. That sounds nice, Ben. That sounds nice. A cabin, a couple acres of land. I think a lot of people would be very happy with that, man. Yeah, he went bankrupt over a casino, right? Like, hold on. Listen, let's look at the facts. How many bankruptcies has Trump had? I think it's like 6. Let's see here. Filed bankruptcy 6 times. Okay. Is this the best business person that you could think of to negotiate all this stuff? I don't know. I I don't negotiate tariffs. I have no idea, to be quite frank with you. I'm just saying that like 6 times is a lot of times to go bankrupt. Like once, twice, 6. It's tough. Yeah, like I think my concerns are, I think there is a large part of Americans that share the concerns. It's like, is this the best path forward? Yes, there is a lot of waste, fraud, maybe even abuse. But is this the best path? We're only going to know until we get through it. Well, people want to know why the market's not going up. That's why the market's not going up. There's no other one factor that I could point to say this is why. It's not this. It's not tariffs. It's this. I can't. I'm trying to find other ways. Trust me. Spending all of my time trying to find other things. It's difficult. He's smarter than you are, though. I highly doubt that. I highly doubt that. I don't think so. I don't think so. Let's see here. What if Bitcoin House of Cards collapses? No debt paid. Well, I think that's the concern about putting all your eggs in one basket. I think there's a famous saying about not doing that, right? I don't know. I think nobody's asking like Bo Hines and any of these people the real questions. I think, it's all softball stuff. I don't know. It's not good. It's not good. Let's see here. Elliot says, what are your thoughts on the upcoming so-called ETF? What do you mean so-called ETF? It's coming. Wondering if it's the same shit as RLUSD. Everyone went live waiting for XRP to pump and it dumped instead. Okay, so Elliot, this is kind of like what is it? Buy the rumor, sell the news type of thing. I think people still don't understand that just because something comes out right on day one, that's going to impact, a multi-billion-dollar market cap. This is what you don't understand. Like when a stablecoin is launched, it really doesn't have any value in it other than how much value you minted the first day. And I can't remember how much it was, but it was like what, 10 million or $25 million. It wasn't a staggering amount of money. Okay. So, you need to get into the trillions before you really start making an impact. Like if you want to go from $2 to 100 or $2 to 1,000, you need trillions to come in, not 25 million or 50 million or something like that. But it is growing every day. And, patience. I'm not a very patient person, so it even pains me to tell somebody else to be patient. But I mean, that's all we got right now. That's all we got, man. That's all we got. Everyone was expecting a rate cut. Well, I mean, I think that's the argument that I've seen people make on that side of it is like all of this stuff is being done to get rates lowered, right? I just, one starts to think if that's the real reason all of this happened, was there not another way to do this without, $10 trillion in people's retirement being lost, right? I think that's the question that should be asked there, right? Is there another way to get to where we want to go, right? I mean, inflation was already coming to a point where the Fed would have started to drop rates, right? Like inflation was at like 2.6 or something in March. Like we're getting very close. If you look at true inflation, it's actually lower than the 2% target. So why haven't they started dropping rates? Well, if you listen to the Fed and Jerome Powell, they'll say they need more data. They need more information. Oh, don't get me wrong. Listen, the Biden administration attacked the crypto market and the crypto industry for 4 years. I was very outspoken about that. I didn't approve of any of that stuff. Actually, I hated all of that stuff. right? I think this is a great thing. But if you look at how much the crypto market has actually gone up in size since Trump took over, we've actually lost what, a few $100 billion. So like, yes, it's great to have this conversation about stable coins and crypto regulation. And eventually that will have an impact. But today there is no impact. In fact, there is impact. It's just negative impact. All right. Curtis says, I don't think he's stupid because he went bankrupt so many times. I think that was a smarter idea. I think he's stupid for other reasons. Well, you know, we can all sit here and be like, what is it? The armchair cowboy or whatever. What is it called? Armchair critic. I don't know. I think it's very complicated. And, there's a lot of complexities that are involved in all of this. And, I don't know. I guess we'll know in the next few months if this is really about reshuffling the global order, if there's other reasons for doing this. We'll find out, you know. It'll be interesting. I'll trust me. I'll bring you that news, good or bad. I'll bring it to you. How much money is currently flowing into XRP? It's not billions. It's millions, you know, in and out. Yeah, Liz, don't get me wrong. Like Biden administration set crypto back in America 4 years, maybe even longer. Who knows? Like it was bad. It's terrible. It's terrible. You know, it's fucked up. No other way to put it, man. It's really bad. Let's see here. Saab says, holding back the rate cut till May shows that the economy is under control and will be better for our crypto bull run that we are waiting for. All right, Saab, you know, absolutely. Armchair quarterback, Darren. Thank you, man. I appreciate you. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah, I saw the Gensler interview today. This is like he's only a Bitcoin maxi or whatever. I didn't even watch it. I get so mad when I look at Gary Gensler. I can't even listen to what he's saying. He had a fire drill, Jonathan. I hope everything's okay. Let's see what's up, Ripples. The Fed news. It's like a blessing. More time to stack. That's true. That's true, man. Very true. Listen, guys, I want nothing better than XRP to take off, right? Like I make content that has to do with XRP and Ripple. So if it took off, I would benefit from that. Not just like emotionally and physically, but monetarily I would benefit from that. And so I want that too. Trust me. I think there's a lot of things right now that like we all wish we could change something, and at the end of the day we're not in control. Shit, even the people that we elect don't have control. So, you know, either side, I think presidents on either side of the aisle, you know, instead of working with Congress or trying to work with Congress and the Senate, they do a lot of stuff by executive order. And I think that really started heavily, at least if I can remember, under Obama, but I could be wrong. It might have started a little bit before that under Bush, but I know it really kind of ballooned up under Obama. So very difficult to say how this is all going to turn out, guys. I hate Gensler. I don't even want to bring him up or talk about him. Swift to adopt XRP this week. That'd be sexy. Crypto Sensei, I think you mean Monday morning quarterback. Similar. Armchair quarterback, Monday morning quarterback. I was going for that. You understood what I was going for. That's the holy grail. As long as you understand, even if I'm not making much sense, you understand what I'm talking about. Is is you going to Singapore on June 10th? I cannot travel right now. I just had surgery 2 weeks ago. I'm supposed to stay off my feet for 12 weeks. So I have another 10 weeks to go, and I have physical therapy and all this other stuff. So, but love that. Brent, appreciate you, man. Great to see you. How you doing? Fictitious Sensei. Can't win them all. You think I could beat Trump in a physical encounter? I'm no armchair quarterback. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know, man. I would love to be able to do like a 2-hour chat and just not have to bring up Trump at all. I would love to go through like weeks or months of my life and I don't even have to think about it. I would love for that to happen. But 3 months down, 3 years, 9 months to go. All right, let's do it. I'm in. All right. Any final questions before we end here today? We've crossing the 2-hour mark and I am losing all the energy that I have. I don't even have 1,000 XRP. John, I mean, if you want, you have time to change that. Just keep learning, keep growing. And then as you learn and grow, you'll have time. You'll always have time. Okay. Can you make a vid for newbies so we can share with friends and family? Jordan, I'm working on something perfect for you. Give me a few more days to put it together and I will get it out. Okay. All right, guys, listen, I appreciate you. I love you. We could talk about this until we're blue in the face. At the end of the day, everybody's here is right in some way. We just want a clear future for the hard work that we put in. Okay. And if that means going through 3, 6, 12 months of pain to get there, I'm all for it. All right. All right. I'll see you next time. I love you. Thank you for your support. Have a good day. I'll see you Friday. Bye, guys. All right, Luna, we're done.